In this video, we're going to dive into the world of Echeveria, a really beautiful succulent that's easy to care for, easy to propagate. We're going to talk about their care, how to repot them, how to propagate them, and not only that, I am going to be unboxing a care package from the Next Gardener full of beautiful Echeverias. Echeverias are a really beautiful succulent. They're really notable for their rosette shape. There's lots of different varieties. What's really notable, as I mentioned, one thing that they all have in common is they do form this really compact rosette shape. They do come in all different shapes and sizes. However, the other notable thing about them is they are pretty low growing. Unlike other succulents such as aeoniums, they don't really grow too high or bushy. They're almost more of a creeper. One thing that I love about these plants, especially being this channel being called Free Plants Forever, is one thing that's cool about Echeveria is they shoot off a lot of pups. Now, I don't know if you can see that, but here's an Echeveria I bought recently, and inside the pot there's another little baby plant growing in there. So what's really cool about these as well is they have been cultivated into lots of different varieties that come in so many different colors. So this one's more of a pale blue one with pink tips. This one is a more pinkish one. This one is green with pink tips. They come in different sizes. Like, look how cute this one is. They can grow bigger, but some do stay quite small and compact, and some get bigger. Yeah, like those. So they are succulents native to Central and North America, so that should tell you a little bit about their care. They are desert plants. They like well-draining soil. They like it dry. They like it warm. They can take direct sunlight as long as they've been kind of eased into it. If you take a succulent that has not been used to being in hot direct sunlight, you need to ease it in because they can get sunburned. But the beauty of putting a plant like this into the sunlight is that's when they get their more rich, deep colors. It's actually a form of stress, a form of sunscreen for the plant when they turn these darker colors. It is part of what makes them so beautiful. They do really well in pots like this. They can absolutely be grown indoor in pots as long as they get enough bright sunlight, bright direct or indirect. So I have these, for example, these are in my kitchen in a sunny window that gets a lot of bright direct sunlight. But I have other varieties that I have grown in the ground as almost like a carpet of plants, and they do really well. Whether they're in indirect, kind of more shady light. Like most succulents, if they're not getting enough sunshine, they will go really leggy. So if it's not getting enough sunlight, it'll start to grow up a little bit taller as it's like kind of reaching toward the sunlight. So if you have an Echeveria that starts growing a little bit tall, you start to see stem, you'll want to give that one a little bit more sunshine. So when they're doing their best, they are a more compact rosette shape. You won't see the stem, you'll only see the leaves. And that's when you know it's getting the right amount of sunlight. So out here in my garden, I do have some beautiful Echeverias in a garden bed. And you'll see they are almost like a lovely carpet of succulents. They're here. These are the Echeverias. These are other types of succulents. This is another really cool Echeveria. This is called the Echeveria Lilac Frost. And at the moment, these are in kind of a shady area. They're not getting a ton of sunlight, which is why you'll see there is a bit of stretching going on. So what's going to happen actually pretty soon with our seasons, all of these nasturtiums are going to get pulled out and they'll get a lot more direct sunshine and they'll become a little bit more compact. So you can see these ones here get more sunlight. They're a lot more compact compared to this one that's been kind of in the shade. They do actually really great in gardens in this kind of succulent tapestry kind of look, and they do just great in pots as well. This is another little succulent bed I have in the garden, and I do have a lot of little Echeverias in here, and some of these are getting a lot more direct sunlight. They're a little bit more stressed. When they're stressed and they go into a little bit more dormant period, they close up. That's perfectly normal. We are entering summer here, So this one just has probably gotten a little bit more water than this one. And this one has a lot more direct sunlight, so it's closing up, and that helps kind of protect it and help it survive the hotter summer months. They are relatively low maintenance. As a rosette, they do grow up and out. So the leaves, once the leaves get older, you will see a lot of dead leaves underneath. And it's almost a little bit fun. You can go in with some tweezers and pull those leaves out, give it a little bit of a haircut, a little bit of maintenance. You know, every couple of months, they'll just need to do that. Their leaves can be a little bit sensitive. So here's some that I had earlier. They got a little bit of damage to the leaves. And that's fine. They are pretty fast growing. So I know it'll grow new leaves out of the center, and we can remove those damaged leaves later. So one thing you'll notice that a lot of Echeverias have is this sort of kind of almost powdery waxy coating on the leaves. That is called farina, or also known as epiticular wax. It plays an important role. It almost acts like a natural sunscreen and a rain protector for these plants because they are desert plants. They do not want to get overly wet. They can rot. So that wax, kind of that coating, helps protect the leaves from getting sunburn, and it also helps protect them from getting too much water. So as tempting as it is to rub it off, try to keep it on there. You do not want to rub that wax off. Without further ado, I am going to open up this box that was sent to me from the next gardener. I got to pick out a bunch of succulents, and I picked out a lot of Echeverias. So that's why I wanted to focus on those in particular. So let's go ahead and see what's in the box. It looks like they are in here, really nicely protected packaging of these plants. All right, so look, let's see. Are you gonna help me? The first thing I should say, look, it came with this little cute booklet. Shows some of their really cute ones. So what's cool as well is this is actually giving some suggestions of how to grow succulents from cuttings, which is something I always talk about, how to take care of your succulents, how to repot. So all your care guide is in here, but we'll talk about it in this video too. So, all right, so there's a little bit of dirt flying around, but everything looks in pretty good shape. And I should mention that the next gardener have given me a discount code to share with you guys, a 15% discount. And all of these plants are really reasonably priced anyways. So even better when you get a 15% discount. Look at the colors we got here. Aren't they so pretty? We got a lot of 2-inch succulents, and then we've got all the different names. We got some blue ones, we got some pink ones. Will we take them out all really carefully? Let's see. We've got Echeveria Mediba. That one's Echeveria Red Velvet Sugar Heart. Is this a Echeveria? Wow, that is so cool. It is. Echeveria Trumpet Pinky. These are some really interesting succulents.
We have Echeveria
Gilo Drops.
Gilo Drops.
That's a really pretty blue-green one, huh?
Echeveria
Orion.
Orion.
Look at that color. Oh, that one's not an Echeveria.
This is not an Echeveria.
This is a Pachyphytum Apricot Beauty. Look at the variegation there. It's so pretty.
This is Echeveria Goldfish.
Goldfish! That's so pretty. What else have we got? Echeveria Halloween. So this one, I think, changes to really cool colors at different times of the year.
This is Echeveria Honey Pink.
Oh, honey pink. Pretty.
Echeveria Pink Lover.
Ooh, pink lover. So you'll notice that's the one thing that all these Echeverias have in common. They all have this like really cute rosette shape.
There's also Echeveria
Maze. Echeveria Maze.
Echeveria Phoenix Fire.
Phoenix Fire. Look at this one. So look, if you take a look at this one, this has a lot of little pups growing out as well. So that means not only am I getting one plant, I'm getting 1, 2, 3, 4 plants out of this teeny tiny one.
And there's Echeveria
Strictiflora
Variety
Nova. Look at that. So pretty. Ooh, look at that one.
Echeveria
Atlantis.
Atlantis.
Yeah, that is a pretty one. That is like more round shaped. Ooh, look at that one.
This is more like a rose shape. Echeveria
Variegata. Mabina variegata. And look,
Mabina variegata.
so this is a variegated Echeveria. This also has a bunch of little pups in there.
This is also an Echeveria. Echeveria neon
Breakers. Neon breakers. That's pretty.
Because it's neon.
Yeah.
Echeveria
Suyan. I'm guessing. Echeveria Suyan.
Oh, we got this really big rose one.
Yeah, look at that one.
Echeveria Pixie Bunny.
Oh, Pixie Bunny. That's pretty. Look at that one.
And we got this really tall one.
Yeah, that one I think is not an Echeveria, interestingly. Let's see. A Graptiveria Lovely Rose. And you can see why it looks like a little rose. Ooh, look at that one.
Echeveria
Nensis? Tolimenensis. We could be pronouncing these all wrong, but Tolimenensis.
Echeveria, the next gardener, white ice.
Yeah, so this one, the next gardener is where we got these sent from. So this is obviously a cultivar that they put together. And that's one thing I should say about Echeverias. You know, they're a type of plant, but like most plants that people grow now, people cultivate them to have different shapes and sizes. You know, they can put in hybrids, they create different varieties. So this is a variety that is created by the next gardener. So this is white ice. That is a really pretty one.
This is Echeveria pink butterfly.
Oh, pink butterfly. Look at that. Yeah, the shape of the leaves are really like butterfly-like.
This is Echeveria, the next gardener,
Maya. So here's another variety that was created by the next gardener. Look at the shape of those leaves. That is so interesting.
Echeveria Mexican
Polydonis. We have a whole other box underneath, so let's see what else came with our package today. You are matching with some of these plants, you know, with your pink and blue shirt. All right, look, here we go. Open. All right, so let's see what else we got in here. Let's have a look.
The same packaging.
Oh, there's more plants.
There's also, it's bigger plants.
Oh, bigger plants. All right, let's see what we got here. Oh, wow. Okay, we have got Echeveria Letiza. That is interesting.
Something that looks like a rose.
Oh, wow. Look at that one.
Greenovia Mona Lisa.
That's right. Greenovia Mona Lisa. Look at that. That is a really interesting succulent.
Mona Lisa.
No. I've never seen one of those, so I'm pretty excited to have that. What else do we have in here? All right, we'll pull this out. Oh, my gosh. Look at this one.
That is so pretty.
That is so pretty. This one, so I think these are the 4-inch pots. This one is a Echeveria Crispate Beauty.
Which is really pretty.
Really pretty. I'm excited about this one. This is not a succulent. You see it?
Yeah.
It's a string of hearts, a variegated string of hearts. So you can see really pretty.
We have Echeveria
Chroma. Oh, it is an Echeveria. Echeveria Chroma.
This is probably another cool one.
All right, ready?
This looks super duper cool.
This does look super duper cool, and a leaf just fell out. Adromicus antidorcatum. That is super cool, and it's dropped a few leaves.
But
and
don't worry.
And I'm not going to worry about that because I suspect we can grow whole new plants from those.
And we also have a lot of fluffing.
Let's remove our fluffing and go back to talking about our Echeverias. So we have all these beautiful Echeverias. How do we take care of them? So one thing I should note is, being succulents, they want it dry. They want it well draining. They want the soil to not retain too much water. So if you are repotting these, use a cactus and succulent mix. So one question I always get is, how do you know when to water your succulents? So succulents are really drought tolerant. They're great for, warm, sunny climates like we're here in California. They do really well in gardens here or even in pots. What I always say is water rarely, but water them deeply. So for example, you're going to want to make sure before you water them, make sure the soil has completely dried out. So this is a perfect example. A lot of these succulents came nice and dry, which is good. It helps them transport a little bit better. This soil here is really, really dry. And so what I would do is I would really soak this deeply. I would give it a lot of water, and you'll even notice that the leaves will start to fatten up a little bit. So if you're not sure when to water your succulent, make sure the soil is completely dried out. And sometimes you'll get signs from them that you'll notice the leaves will start to maybe get a little bit more floppy, a little bit more wrinkled. Like here's a good example. That's completely dry, right? Let's bring these back to the plant station. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put these, I got a really lovely flower pot for Mother's Day. I'm going to put them in the flower pot, and then we'll talk about how to repot these and then how to water them. Sound good? So as mentioned, watering is one of the big mysteries of caring for succulents. So I'm going to go back to this neon breakers. So when you're caring for an Echeveria such as this one, you'll notice this one in particular, it's got very dry soil. This soil looks pretty good because it's got a lot of perlite, which is allowing for good drainage. The little nursery pot that it's in has really good drainage holes, but it's looking, a little bit floppy is maybe the word. The leaves aren't super plump, and the soil is very dry all the way through, so I know this wants a good soak. And then it also has some kind of older leaves down here. So for me, maintaining this plant, and I just actually might have grabbed a little pup out of there, so be a little bit careful about that. So I want to take all these dead leaves and remove them. I find little tweezers like this make the job really easy. There's something very satisfying about doing this. So we're going to just pull off all these dead, dry bottom leaves. So these dry bottom leaves, these cannot be propagated. We're just going to remove these completely, and I'm going to be, like I said, a little bit careful because some of the leaves down here aren't dead. I'm only removing the dead leaves. Some look pretty well attached, so that's looking a little bit nicer. And then I'm going to put it in this glass jar, and I'm going to give it a really good soak. So, and the reason I have it in this glass jar, it's almost like a cache pot. I want to soak it from the top and then also allow it to really soak in. So I'm going to put it in here and in the pot, and I'm going to let it sit here for a long time and really soak in all of that water and allow it to go, the water to go back into the leaves, because that is what makes succulents drought tolerant. They hold all the moisture in their really fat, juicy stems and their fat, juicy leaves. And then what happens, so they can go for long periods of time without being watered because they have the water in their leaves and their stems. But then what happens is once they've been not watered for a while, the water will start to come out of those leaves. That's why they get a little bit wrinkled, a little bit thinner, because they're using their water. That's just how they work. So once they're looking like that, that's when you know it's a really good time to go and soak them and really, really soak them. So I always say one really big, deep watering until it is fully dried out. You don't want to keep these in moist soil. They want to stay in dry soil. That is what makes them happiest. And then I created a short video recently where I did the same maintenance to this particular Echeveria, where I gave it a really good soak and then I chopped it off and then replanted it back in the pot that it came in. And I had a lot of comments like, well, what are you going to do with the stem? Well, this is the stem from that Echeveria, and this is why I kept the stem. Here's some of the leaves. But out of that stem that I cut, it has now produced a ton of new little baby Echeverias in there. I don't know if you can see that. We've got at least 1, 2, 3 new plants growing out of that cut stem. So cutting these and replanting the top, because they will just go and produce new little roots. They really propagate so easily that way. Here's some more leaf maintenance. They propagate so easily from little cut stems. And then the stems that you have cut will often produce new plants as well. Now, with most Echeverias as well, as long as the leaves are pretty healthy and pretty full of moisture, you can also propagate new plants from just the leaves. And I'll show you how to do that. So here is that same Echeveria that I had before. So if you have a leaf like this that is complete, you know, you want to get the whole leaf, you can even pull them off. So here's an example. I'm just going to use this as an example. I'm going to remove this leaf, and you know you've got the whole leaf. It's not cut because it's got a little dimple. It's not wet. It's nice and green and thick. And if you lay that leaf onto dry soil just like this, it will start to grow a whole new plant, and I will show you an example of where I've done that earlier. Over here, this is my propagation station where I have lots of plants growing from leaves. These are not Echeverias, but this is the same idea. These are graptopetalatums, and if you just have a leaf, it'll start growing a whole new plant out of it. And let's see if I have some Echeverias. I don't think I have any on this one, but down here I should have some examples. Now here we go. So this here, that is a little Echeveria that came from a leaf propagation. The leaf has since dried up, so that's the thing. Leave the leaves until they dry up on their own. So this had come from a leaf, and the leaf dried up, and that is still growing. It's got 2 little plants growing out of there. And that's one way to produce whole new plants from just a leaf. I have some that they haven't started growing leaves yet, but these are other varieties of Echeverias in there. Lots of succulents grow from just a leaf like that, so that's why I have these shallow trays to do just that. And I just found another, here we go. Here's some Echeverias in here. There's one here, and this is a stem that was cut, and 2 little new buds are growing out of that stem. So that came from an Echeveria that I chopped. I put into another area of my garden. I put the stem back into this little propagation box, and we've got 2 new plants growing out of there. So as mentioned already, but I'll show you a real example of a way to propagate this plant. Here is a pot that came with a lot of different pups in it. Let's just remove it from its pot to get a good look, because it's nice and dry soil. You'll notice here are where the little pups shoot out, and that's one of the best things about this plant, is it just really creates lots of new plants for itself. There's like teeny tiny baby one in there. We'll leave that one. But what I can do, I mean, I could plant this in the pot as it is because it's nice and full, which we always like any plant that looks nice and full. But say I wanted to take some of them and put them in another pot. I have some nice clippers, nice sharp clippers, and all I do is I'm gonna take that stem and I'm gonna snip it. And now this, all I need to do is to pop that straight back into the soil. So for example, I have this pot here. All I have to do is pop that in like that, and it will start to root itself. Now, with all succulents, I usually mention that you should allow the end to callus over, before you either water or put it into moist soil. So for example, this pot is really quite dry, so I can put it in here comfortably, not worried that it will rot, because if you don't allow it to callus over, that moisture can go up into the stem and cause the plant to rot. So we do not want that to happen. So I'm going to keep this soil dry. I'm not going to water it for a long time. This plant will survive for a long time without being watered. And in fact, there's no point in watering it because there's no roots, right? So until that's calloused over, now sometimes the moisture will kind of signal to this plant, hey, let's put down some roots. So that is something to think about. I'm going to leave this for at least 1 week, 2 weeks. I could leave this for a month and this plant will be perfectly happy. So I can now take a bunch of different little plants and make a really cute succulent arrangement in this pot without a fully rooted plant. And then interestingly, this stem, it could produce new plants. Maybe it won't because it's pretty young, but you never know. So when I am repotting an echeveria or even planting it in the ground, I like to use a cactus and succulent mix. I usually choose an organic one, and a cactus and succulent mix, it just makes it that much more well draining. Unlike a potting soil, it has a little bit less organic material. It is designed to stay dry. Now, in this particular blend, they've added pumice, lava rock, and sand, and that just kind of emulates that desert soil that these plants prefer. And then I'm going to finish up this video. I received this beautiful pot for Mother's Day, and I feel like it's crying out for some really nice succulents. This is really dry soil. It is that cactus and succulent mix. This is the lava rock. This is pumice. There's sand. There's a little bit of organic material. There is some wood, which does break down and become nutrients, but overall it's a very loose, very sandy soil mix. And all I need to do in order to make a really pretty arrangement is just pop these in. Now, these are pretty small pots, so I'm going to fill this a little bit more with a little bit more soil. Okay, I'm just going to add some more of this soil mix. And just to repeat, this pot does have drainage, which is really important for these kind of things. And will we do our beautiful crispate beauty as the centerpiece? I think that could be nice. So I'm checking all around. I'm gonna remove any dead leaves. So there are some, this one is a little bit more wet, and these are the kind of more, you can tell by the leaves, they're a little bit wetter. I don't need to, there's no real need to sort of break apart the soil. I'm just kind of checking any leaves and seeing if I want to remove any. I might remove some of those very bottom leaves because that'll allow me to really get in there and make sure it's what I love about echeverias is they really do look like flowers. They really have that rosette shape that I just think is so beautiful without being flowers. They do flower, and that is one thing I should mention. They do flower. So here, for example, here's another echeveria. This is a flower. It hasn't bloomed yet, but they do create some kind of cute blooms. A lot of times people do cut off the blooms because they do tend to attract aphids and other pests. So it's up to you. You can keep the flower if you like it. I'm going to keep it on so far because there doesn't seem to be any pests from it. And interestingly as well, these leaves that are on the flower branch, those can also be propagated. I have seen people cut these and plant them in and get whole new plants from them. Or just cut them and throw them away to avoid the aphids. But continuing with our lovely arrangement here, this is so white and pale blue. And we'll choose some of these really kind of cool, interesting, pinky colored ones. They're kind of similar colors, so I don't want to get them too close. Maybe do something like that. Let me just pop these out. And everything here is pretty dry. That's just how it's shipped. I'm gonna remove any dead leaves. It's a little bit easier with the tweezers. And you can see where, and I'm actually gonna bury this a little bit deeper than the soil that it had because the roots will come out further this way. So that'll just give it a little bit more ability to grow more roots. Some of these leaves are looking a little bit funky. I'll remove that one. Pop that in like that. Maybe do kind of a darker ones closer to here. This is the next gardener, Maya, one of their own cultivars. And yeah, as you can see, the kind of older leaves. This one is pretty dry. Ooh, I'm gonna kind of give that a little bit of a squish. Remove these dead leaves. These little blowers are really handy for cleaning the soil off of leaves, succulent leaves. They can handle this. These aren't so delicate. I mean, you don't want to do damage to the leaves because with most succulents, once you damage the leaf, it's not like the leaf comes back to looking good, but the plant is very hardy. They do survive a lot. Pink butterfly. So I kind of mentioned Echeveria dormancy. Like most plants, I should say, in the whole world, these plants do go dormant. Their dormancy period is usually the winter, different to aeoniums, which go dormant in the summer. These go dormant in the winter, so you'll notice the leaves will start to sort of close in on themselves a little bit. They might not grow as much. The color may change from pinky to green or vice versa. That is completely normal. It's nothing to worry about. It doesn't mean your plant is dying. It just is going through a dormant period. So that is one thing to be aware of. So winter time is not necessarily the time to do propagation, or if you do, just it's going to be slower. And then come the spring, they will start to open up and grow a lot more. Decisions. Which colors will I do? I'm trying to find colors that are a little bit different to this. So I do like these really purpley ones. I feel like this is looking really beautiful. I'm really happy with this. Where's my little, now to clean it off. And the nice thing about making an arrangement like this yourself from succulents that you have either purchased or propagated, I mean, you go into some places, I'll have to show you, I was in a grocery store recently with a very fancy flower department, and a succulent like this was going for quite a lot of money. So even if this is something you want to make for yourself or give as a gift, or even, you know, sell at a market yourself, that is something to think about if you want to get these really beautiful. Echeverias make really beautiful succulent arrangements. And now to finish this off, I have some really pretty little sedum plants that will really fill in nicely, or I could keep it simple and add some little river stones. Maybe we'll do a little bit of both. This is sedum succulents. These grow so quickly. You could grow this from one tiny leaf. I usually throw a couple stems in a pot like this. You start out with this, you throw it in, and they just start putting out roots super quickly. Now, I don't want to overpower, so I may change my mind and not add these after all, but they might add a little bit of softness to this. Because I think these plants are so beautiful. I don't want to hide them. The colors are just so great. So if that is in here, maybe half that amount. And I just want to be careful that I'm not, like, I feel like I've kind of pulled, there we go. We actually lost a leaf there, which happens, but it's okay. And I'm not going to water this straight away. Even though these are really ready for watering, they're very dry. I'm gonna leave it a day or two because I just want to make sure any broken stems, any cracks it may have had, I want to make sure that they callus over. I don't want to risk any rot with these at all. And let's see. Now to really finish it off, I could put some rainbow colors in there. I think that's a little too much. I'm gonna use my terrarium fill. We want this to look really nice and pretty. I am excited about, I'm gonna put this right on our outdoor patio table where it's gonna get a lot of really bright light. I should mention as well, the Next Gardener do also sell cuttings. If you're on a budget, they also sell some really nice pots and plant accessories. It is really worth checking out their website to see what they have if you are a plant enthusiast. So there it is, my beautiful Echeveria arrangement. This is going to get pride of place right on our outdoor patio table. Lovely. Thank you so much for joining us with our guide to Echeveria. If you have any questions, do please put them in the comments. You can also find me on Instagram and TikTok. Don't forget to visit thenextgardener.com to see their amazing selection of plants and plant products. I do have a 15% discount link below.
And make sure to like and subscribe. And don't forget to comment below.